everybody. It's Robyn Wright here, Robyn's World. Monica is taking a much earned vacation this week, so I am hosting today, and we are going to have a guest, Jacqueline Cromwell, better known as Nerd Mom. And we talked about back to school during the chat today. Lots of kids already starting to get in that process of going back to school, and we're talking about tech and how to get the kids ready and your family ready. And it's really important to, kind of get a leg up on the technology and what you're going to be using in school ahead of time, and that way you're kind of prepared ahead of time. So we want to go over some of the apps that we like for back to school and some of the ideas to help you get your kids ready and for you to get ready as a parent even for back to school this year. So I want to introduce Jackie Cromwell, Nerd Mom, who is out in California. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Robyn. How are you doing today?
Good. It's so nice to see you. I have known Jackie for quite some time. Jackie, can you tell us a little bit about your education, how you all do it in your family? I know it's a little different from what some other people do.
Yes, I homeschool my 4 children that are going into 8th, 6th, 4th, and 2nd grade this year. And they've been homeschooled all the way through. So our back to school can look a little different than everyone else's.
Great. And so are you using technology as part of your homeschooling?
Of course. For us, technology is a great resource. We do a decent amount of book work, but anything beyond, how do I say this, the closed or open book is all online stuff. Our research is a lot online. Along with our enrichment and how to actually implement some of the skills I've taught them on pencil and paper.
That's awesome. And that's one thing that we're starting to see more and more of in traditional schools as well, is that it's not just teaching them a little bit of skills about using a computer. We are using it to implement those ideas and go other places. Before I forget, I want to mention that there is a prize today. We are giving away a Samsung S4 mini smartphone. I think I got that right today. And what we need you to do is send in your questions on Twitter. Still keep using the hashtag VZWBuzz. And we will pick a winner from one of those great questions you guys always send us at the end of the show today. So keep those going. So Jackie, let's talk about apps. So there are millions of apps, I think, now for all kinds of devices, for all ages. Can you tell me some of the apps that you like for your kids and maybe the different age ranges that you use?
Well, start with really early we get our kids all into the resource material. I'm a huge believer in resource material. So I have a few apps that I think are kind of necessary to have. One is the Merriam-Webster Dictionary app, because as much as we could frankly just Google one word, I think that the dictionary app brings a little bit more richness to it, and I am the stickler for look it up in paper or online. I'm also a big believer in Wikipedia. Now, I understand Wikipedia isn't a true encyclopedia, but there are lots of sources, and so it's a great way to not only get your kids to dive into the material, but teach them how to cross-reference and check sources to make sure it's real. So those are my 2 biggies.
Right. On Wikipedia especially, when my son was in school and when they had to do some research, the teachers would say not Wikipedia as a reference, but you could go in and start at Wikipedia, and when you look down towards the bottom of Wikipedia especially, they have lots of external resources and links that the kids can go and check out. And it's good for elementary school all the way through college. There's not really an age range on that. You can kind of take it as you need it and take from it what you need it. So what about, do you have anything specific for math? We get a lot of math questions.
As far as apps, as your kids get older, it's a little hard to find things to actually help with the teaching. One of my favorite things in the world is the Math Lab Calculator app. It includes graphing, it's programmable, you can put in functions, the whole bit. So it's great for high school students and college students too.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I know in the chat, Seb Silver was, will it replace the TI calculator? And in my heart, nothing replaces a TI calculator. But in practicality, this comes pretty close.
Right,
And
right.
there are a ton of math sites, different apps, and I cannot for the life of me remember any specifics right now, that you can do a lot of flashcards for multiplication. There's some great math games out there too.
And I would add too that if your kids are into something like cooking, use cooking as a math app. So look and find some of the recipe apps if they like to cook and use those. It's going to teach you about fractions and time and measurement and just so much more. And that's one of the things that we like to do when we homeschooled and when we just supplemented my son's education at home, is that we try to pull in all of those things that he had to learn into everyday life, and it makes it so much more accessible for the kids. They don't realize they're learning that, but they are. So it's just like, everybody goes, well, I'll never use algebra in the real world. We really do use algebra in the real world. So let's see. What about some tips on, I know that your kids are being homeschooled, so it's a little bit different, but I know that you work with, you have access to a lot of other parents and teachers and things. Do you have any tips on kids using actual devices for going back to school? What do parents need to know about them using it for homework, at school, at home, any of those things? Do you have any tips?
I am very firm on let's set up our expectations to begin with. If they're using a mobile device, they need to use the tools that are available to them as parents to set guards and restrictions. Verizon has some great parental tools that are available. And I just say be very upfront with your kids. Have your kids be open enough to show you their devices and show you what they're using. And I randomly check histories, and I advocate parents do it. It's not that you're keeping tabs on your kids, but it's just an accountability for them. So if you see some sites that shouldn't be there, or them researching, from some sort of term paper site, you're kind of open that door of, I may check at any point in time. I am also a big believer in using your devices in public. It just helps everybody stay a little bit more accountable.
Right. And I would add, as far as parental controls and things like that, conversations are always what we recommend as the best parental tool. I know if you all have been joining VZWBuzz for a while, you've heard that. But it still applies that we really want to keep those conversations going on, and then look at the devices that you have and the operating systems that are on there and see what parental controls are already there. Ask at the Verizon store or other places if you need help on learning how to use those, but keep the conversations open and let your kids know that you can, you as a parent, it's kind of your duty to kind of keep an eye on things and that. Ann H. wanted to know about history. I think we're having a little bit of problem with Jackie's video. And so Ann, what she's talking about is history is like history of the browser, what their children were looking at online. That's what she can see. So I'm checking. We're still having trouble with Jackie. Yes, okay. So the other thing is Verizon Educational app is a great service. It's part of the More Everything plan. And it is, I've been using it the last couple of days to look things up myself, even though I don't need the educational apps for my son who's out of school now. But it gives a really detailed description of what the app actually does, and it's rated, and it's by educators that are going in and looking at these apps and videos and rating them for you, and it'll break it down by the standards they need and everything. And so I really suggest you check that out. That's Verizon Education apps. Another service I'm going to talk about for Verizon today is their family locator services, because when the kids go back to school, you have people kind of running all around if you have a big family, and you have kids going to school, you have kids in after-school activities, somebody's in sports, somebody has dance lessons, and the family locator is great because everybody with the device, you can kind of check in and see where everybody is. and you can use geofencing to let you get alerts when your kids say get home from school safely, if they're going home, if they're old enough to go home by themselves, or when they are at a meet, you can see that they're at the school they're supposed to be, and that. So those are great tools to have for that busy family to keep in touch. You can check in and do a lot of different things with that. The other thing, okay, we're trying to get Jackie back on, but we're having technical difficulties. Sometimes it happens. And let's see, the other thing I wanted to mention is getting ready for back to school too. Is now when you have their start date, start earlier, especially with those younger kids, getting them to bed a little earlier so they'll be able to get up. We also would recommend doing a family charging station in your home. So instead of letting the kids have their phones or tablets in their bedrooms at night, don't let them use the excuse, that's my alarm clock. Get them a regular alarm clock. They're very cheap and inexpensive. Put all the phones out to be charged at night, including the parents, because we're bad about that too. And that way everybody is tech-free at night and gets a good night's sleep. So I really do recommend that. Nerd Mom wants to know about, or not Nerd Mom, Mabu wanted Nerd Mom to tell her about opinions on best targeted online courseware. And Jackie, are you back?
I am back.
Do you have any suggestions on homeschool courseware for online?
It depends on, of course, budget's always an issue if she's looking at purchasing program, but separately, there are so many great things. I'm a big believer in Khan Academy, and luckily as homeschoolers, we can use that as legitimate courseware. And you can just put in and search by subject. There are so many things, though. It depends if you're looking for a year or a specific unit. For things like math, I say for specific concepts, Khan Academy, Vi-Heart videos are one of my favorites that I like to use, and Kitchen Table Math, which is a site I use quite frequently to teach specific concepts to kids.
And those are all great resources, even if you're not homeschooling. If your child needs a little extra help in math, or just is like me, I loved math when I was a kid, so I wanted to do more. If you have one of those kind of kids, let them have those tools available to them so they can explore and learn those different fun things about math if that's what they're interested in. I see a lot of people liking the tip about family charging stations. I'm so glad that you guys are doing that. The other thing we talked about in the chat today was learning about your school's technology policies. So every school district is different, and even within the schools, the different age levels, they have different policies about it. Most districts on their websites, if you haven't gone to your district website ever, it's a great time to do it. There's usually a lot of information on there. And you can check out what is their policy on kids having cell phones at school. What is the policy on bringing tablets or laptops to school? And what are the consequences if they don't follow the rules? As parents, we may not necessarily agree with the guidelines they've put in place, but that's what's in place. And your kids are going to have to follow the rules. You're expected to follow them as well. And if you think it needs to be changed, then that's where you go and you talk with the PTA, the PTO, the school board, and you work on educating them and trying to get those changes made. But you want your kids to be able to follow the rules to make their school experience happy and safe, and no detentions and things like that. Let's see. Kaylee wants to know about if you can homeschool on one subject as a supplement to the education. My son loves science and wants more. Jackie, do you have any tips for her on that?
I view that as being an involved parent. I know for myself, I was through public school, and we just consider that enrichment. For science, there's so much great stuff out there. There are various websites that can look at specific subjects. Once again, I love Khan Academy. It's one of my go-tos. Leslie Samuels has a great series that he does on YouTube as a biology professor. It's all biology videos. And so I highly recommend Leslie Samuels. And there's just so much out there, but don't view it necessarily as homeschooling per se. Just view it as being an involved parent, and you're putting your kid in contact with the resources to help them in what they're interested in.
I agree. I would do the same thing when my son was in school, and he used textbooks at his school. That seems to be old-fashioned for some schools now. But I remember, there was always those little blurbs, like in the science books, and it would say, for more information, go to this website, or it would have a little project that they didn't do in school. But when he brought those books home, we could go ahead and do those experiments at home. I remember learning about the Bernoulli principle with a ping pong ball and a hair dryer, and we just thought that was amazing. And we did a lot of dry ice experiments, things like that. So anything to keep your kids excited. You don't have to tell them that we're doing science now. I mean, it's just part of learning that you want to do. And so expanding, using the resources they're already using in school and expanding on what's in their textbooks or their ebooks is a great way to supplement their education at home and show them that you're excited about education and that you think it's really important. And I think that helps the kids have that excitement. Even when they're teenagers, somebody commented about that, teenagers don't ever get excited about school. It's in there. I promise you. For some of them, it's really in there that they still like school and they like learning. I'm 44 years old. I still love to learn. I know, Jackie, you are the same way, aren't you? Oh, did we lose Jackie again? Oh, we lost Jackie again. It's been one of those days. There's a lot of people asking about homeschooling and that. And I would say there's tons of resources online, and you can tweet to Jackie for specific questions, and she can give you some resources. She's at Nerd Mom, and so we lost her on video, but you can tweet out to her, and I'm sure she can point you in some good resources for that. The other thing is that we talked about tablets and computers and that, and the input devices. There was a conversation about this last night at the panel that I did, and all kids work differently. So some are more visual, some are more auditory, some are more tactile. And so the input devices on these technology items that we have are different too. So for some things, a keyboard is best. For some things, a touch screen is best. Some things, speech input, it works great, or a stylus. So find the things that work best for your children, and each of your children will be different, and let them explore using those. Stylus and touchscreen especially come in great for that artistic kind of thing that is happening with kids, and let them use your technology to explore arts and stuff too, and music. There's lots of musical apps that they can learn from, and just so much more out there. So we've got people, oh, technical errors, yes. I see that. I'm looking at the feed here, and we're getting, Jackie's kind of coming back and forth. I'm not sure if we'll get her back today and that. But we have, if we missed any of your questions and you would like to ask us, you can always go to facebook.com/theonlinemom and ask us there. We're always happy to answer some questions, or out on Twitter. You can always send us a tweet about everything. And I think, Misty, do we have a winner for today? It's in my DMs. Let me look really quick. All right, let's see. All right, so Momish Style is our winner today, and she wins a Samsung S4 mini smartphone. Congratulations. And that's Stephanie Ford Smith. So if you get your information to Misty, Misty Girl PH, she will make sure that we get your prize out to you. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Make sure that you are checking out Verizon's educational apps, like I said, and also check with your store if you need technical advice as a parent on how to use those devices, how to help your children learn, or even teaching your children. They have classes in the stores, and there's lots of online tutorials that you can take a look at, and it will help you with all of that. And I think we covered everything today. I'm looking at my timeline and my director here. Next week, we will be back, and Monica will be back as well next week, back from vacation, nice and rested up. And we will have more prizes and more tech talk. And I thank you all for joining us today. And thank you.